Hi you guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Charlotte. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you're all well. Today we are talking about beast mode or long-lasting fragrances. These are the ones that are my favorites, personal favorites in my collection that I recommend. These are fragrances that project, that leave a trail, that last, that are eternal in some cases. I will be inching my way through these choices all the way to the most beastly at the end. Yeah, before we get into it, don't forget to like the video if you enjoy this topic, if you enjoy my videos in general. Also, let me know down below what your go-to beast mode or long-lasting fragrance is. I would love to know, and I'm sure everyone else would love to know as well. So let's get into it. Generally speaking, beast mode fragrances are not necessarily the most worn fragrances in my collection, especially because just with my lifestyle, I stay home a lot. I'm not around a lot of people. I'm not needing them to last all day, but I do have quite a few beast mode fragrances in my collection. These are the fragrances that I personally reach for when I know I want my fragrance to last all day, maybe even all day and night until the next day. These are those fragrances. Some of the strongest fragrances in this list are actually fragrances that I very rarely wear because of how beastly they are. They can be so overpowering, especially if you're just staying at home like I am most of the time. These are fragrances that need air to breathe, that if I'm wearing them, it's because I'm going outside and there's going to be movement around me and I'm going to be walking around or running around or whatnot, and probably not going to be in a small closed space with people, if you know what I mean. Some of these are so strong, like I'm probably not going to spray them. I can smell them right out of the bottle. The first fragrances I'm going to share with you are the fragrances that are very, very long lasting and leave a great sillage, but they're also not so strong as to suffocate me. And before I get into this list, actually, I just want to mention that I have found that with your fragrances, if you really want them to last and be beastly, you tend to get fragrances that are very synthetic, that do tend to have a lot of aroma chemicals in them. And I feel personally that's the trade-off you make. You want a more natural smelling fragrance. It's not usually going to last as long as a very synthetic fragrance. At least that's the case with all the fragrances that I've smelled, and definitely is the case for the fragrances in my collection. So you will see a lot of more synthetic fragrance brands like Mancera. I could have included some Montal in here. But anyway, let's start with This Is Her by Zadig and Voltaire. This is an amber vanilla fragrance that came out in 2016. This is the most lactonic, sweet vanilla sandalwood fragrance in my collection. This is an absolute staple in my collection. This is signature scent worthy. It probably would be my signature scent if I didn't have a massive collection. I definitely could see this as being a scent that I would find and then just fall in love with and just continuously repurchase. This is one of a kind, absolutely. But not only that, it's sweet and milky and comforting and cozy while being extremely long lasting. This lasts on my skin and on my clothes for a very long time, definitely for days and days on my clothes, if not longer. This is a fragrance that when I wear it, I will smell it on myself the next day, the next morning. And this also leaves a beautiful trail. Now, this is not as beastly in terms of projection as some of the later ones I will mention, but it's also what makes this an easy reach for me when I'm at home. So it's something that's long lasting, but that's not going to choke me out. It's not going to choke everyone out either. That's this kind of fragrance. This is a beautiful, creamy, lactonic, whipped cream, sandalwood, vanilla fragrance. Very gourmand, very lactonic. Definitely goes into butyric acid territory, so it can smell a little bit like curdled milk to some people. One of my absolute favorite fragrances in my collection. Yeah, I think this can pass under the radar sometimes in terms of longevity, beast mode category, but it absolutely is beast mode. And This Is Her by Zadig and Voltaire. Next up, we have by Atelier des Arts. This is Lune Féline. This is an amber vanilla fragrance that came out in 2015. This is a very strong, ambery, balsamic, warm, spicy vanilla fragrance. It has a lot of cardamom in the opening. It's very balsamic. It has some resins in there, a lot of vanilla. It's a little bit woody as well and musky. This is a fragrance that is definitely long lasting. It doesn't have as much of a projection, again, as some of the later scents I will mention, but it also smells a little bit more natural. So again, I think that there is that decision you have to make that's personal. Do you want to choke out the room? And again, some people do. If you want to choke out the room, go for the Montals, the Manceras, the Xerjoffs. This, or not all the Xerjoffs though. The Casamorati line is not a Beast Mode line, but I digress. Lune Féline, definitely one of the best powerhouse winter vanilla fragrances in my collection. So amazing, definitely worth it. If you love a warm, spicy vanilla and you want a Beast Mode, long-lasting fragrance with ample sillage, Lune Féline by Atelier des Arts. Next up, we have by Jean-Paul Gaultier, and this is La Belle Le Parfum. Le Parfum is an amber vanilla fragrance that came out in 2021, and this, you guys, I think is my preference between La Belle and Le Parfum Intense. Between the two, this is my preference. This just has a little bit more character and is a little less innocent than La Belle. It is also a little bit more long-lasting, I find, than La Belle. The projection and sillage on this is absolutely beastly. Everyone will smell you. Everyone will smell you. So be prepared for that, because I'm not spraying them all, just some of them, you know, because I feel like it. But yeah, this is fruity. This is sweet vanilla. There's some cherry in there, some tonka bean. I don't think Fragrantica lists all the notes, but I believe there is some cherry in here as well, and you definitely do smell it. A little bit balsamic in that fruitiness, and the tonka bean make it a little bit balsamic and resinous feeling. Ambery too, very strong. If I spray this, just one spray even. I don't only wear one spray. I definitely, you know, do the normal 4 to 6 sprays, which is pretty much the standard that I do for most of my fragrances. But like, if I do that right away, I will get comments. Like, my boyfriend will notice, and this is not something that I would ever wear if I didn't want to be smelled. This is going to be smelled. You're gonna get compliments. People are gonna ask you what you're wearing. I'm pretty sure of it. Very intoxicating, very sexy, very feminine, and very beastly. Long lasting as well. More long lasting than La Belle, the OG, I would say. Le Parfum Intense. Next up, another fragrance that you might underestimate in terms of longevity and beastliness and projection and sillage. This is Initio's Rehab. This is a very musky, woody, sandalwoody lavender fragrance. Very strong, very potent. Initio's Rehab is a woody aromatic fragrance that came out in 2018. You can tell right off the get-go that it is very strong and potent, but for something that's usually a more subdued sort of scent profile, like I said, musky, powdery, sandalwoody, lavender, a little bit aromatic, musky, it is very beastly without being a fragrance that will necessarily choke you out. This has a lot of hedione in it as well, which I believe is a synthetic green smelling jasmine, and I find that fragrances that have a good dose of hedione last a really, really long time. I don't know if it's because it's a fixative sort of ingredient in fragrances. It might be. I am by no means an expert in aroma chemicals and that whole side of perfumery, but from what I've read and from my own experience, I find that hedione really extends the wear and the projection and the sillage of your fragrance. This has a hefty dose of that. I have another Kilian fragrance that has hedione. Which one is it? The fig one. That one has a lot of hedione, and that's one of the louder Kilian fragrances in the bomb little bottles. This one has that same hedione that I smell in there as well. Very strong, very long lasting, very beastly without being a loud fragrance in terms of personality. One of my favorite long lasting beastly fragrances in my collection. Next up, we have by Mimo Paris. This is Sintra. And this, you guys, is very beastly. Extremely long lasting, very concentrated. You don't need very much for this to go very far. This will project, this will leave a trail, and most importantly in my book, it's very long lasting. Sintra is an amber floral fragrance that came out in 2020, and this is a beautiful orange blossom, very sweet orange blossom, slightly green in the opening, marshmallow fragrance as well. It has a really beautiful milk note in this that tends to come out more in the dry down. This is a fragrance that really changes on your skin. The opening is very sweet, a little bit green, heavy on that white floral orange blossom, very reminiscent to Love Don't Be Shy by Kilian, but it does change on my skin. It does get very milky and gourmand and lactonic on the dry down. Incredible fragrance, incredible projection, sillage, lasting power, Sintra by Memo Paris. Next, we have the classic, the infamous, the very well-known, no need for introduction, Delina by Parfum de Marly. This is a floral fragrance that came out in 2017 and took the entire fragrance world by storm, just as much as Baccarat Rouge 540, of course. This is a fruity rose, very fresh, tropical sort of fragrance. Very feminine, fresh, rosy, vanilla, musky fragrance as well. This has a beautiful, very punchy, tart, sweet and tart opening with that lychee and rhubarb. One of my absolute favorite fragrances for the springtime specifically. This is a fragrance that I will wear when I know I want to smell. I want people to smell me. I want to feel a little bit glam. I want to feel feminine and pretty, and I want to be absolutely sure that the scent doesn't go away. Like, I don't know when I'm gonna get home. I don't know if I'm gonna get home later on tonight, 20 hours from now. This is the fragrance that I'm gonna wear. Definitely an eternal kind of fragrance for me. This is beautiful. One of the best long-lasting fragrances in my collection, and I love finding a long-lasting beast mode sort of fragrance like this that is also great for the warmer weather, because a lot of the times those beastly fragrances tend to be heavier winter fragrances, right? So this to me is a staple spring and summer long-lasting fragrance. Delina. Next up, I'm going to share with you 3 of my favorite Mancera fragrances that I find are my favorite fragrances that I reach for when I want a long-lasting or a wide projecting sort of fragrance. Generally speaking, all of Mancera's fragrances tend to be beast mode. Some of them are a little bit quieter than others, but they all tend to be quite long-lasting. Some are just less wide projecting. The first one I have to share with you is Wild Python. This is a Chypre Floral fragrance that came out in 2018. This is one of the strongest, loudest tuberose fragrances in my collection. This starts out very, very strong green tuberose, very white floral. I think this will come off as screechy for anyone who does not enjoy white florals. It gets very, very musky and vanilla as it dries down. This is a sexy, confident fragrance. This is a nasty tuberose. A little bit. Like, this is a little bit dirty in the best kind of way. Very sexy, very feminine to me. Absolutely intoxicating. One of my favorites by Mancera. This is Wild Python. You will not run out of scent around you. People will smell you, for better or worse. They might complain if you're in a small enclosed space and you spray this, they might complain. It's that beastly of a scent. Wild Python by Mancera. Next up, we have what might arguably be the most loud Mancera fragrance I have that I enjoy too, because I'm sure there's other ones too, but this is the one that I enjoy. This is Instant Crush. This is an amber floral fragrance that came out in 2019. This is a very warm, ambery, vanilla fragrance, very unisex, definitely amazing scent to wear as a man or a woman. Either way, I think it's very intoxicating. It's very sexy as well. To me, this is more of a cold weather scent. This is a very confident scent. This is the kind of scent that's eternal. This, you know, like if you spray this, and I think you would have a hard time washing it off. It's that strong. It will stay forever on your clothes. If you get some on your clothes, if you get some in your hair, you will smell it until you wash your hair again. That kind of fragrance. This is very strong, you guys. And definitely strong in the sense that it could choke you out. Yeah, this is very, very strong. This is a huge bottle, a 120 ml bottle, and this is not something I would ever overspray. So this will probably last me forever. This is a great value as well. Some people don't like this fragrance. I think some people don't like the synthetic edge in this fragrance, but like I said, I think you need to determine for yourself whether that is something that is a good trade-off for you or not. All the Manceras have that synthetic edge to them. I don't mind it. I don't really discriminate with my fragrances. I really like a wide range of fragrances. I like the more natural fragrances, and I also like the more synthetic fragrances, and to be honest, most, if not all fragrances on the market tend to be mostly synthetic at this point. Yeah, I think this is a solid staple fragrance and one of the best in the Mancera line. This is very warm, spicy, ambery, and vanilla, and musky as well. Very sexy in a very unisex sort of way, just as sexy on a man or a woman. Very confident, like I said. This is a confidence booster as well as a strong character sort of person vibe from this fragrance. Love this fragrance. Next up, I have Roses Greedy by Mancera. This is another very strong projecting fragrance with a great trail, sillage, and lasting power. This is a floral fruity gourmand fragrance that came out in 2012. This is a very sweet, rosy fragrance, very musky and gourmand as well. It does have some fruits in the opening like peach and black currant. It has some creamy coconut in there as well. It has a very, very sweet quality to it. I find it very feminine. This is also a great layering scent that you could easily layer with another vanilla fragrance if you wanted to, but you really do not need to layer this in any way. This speaks for itself. It's a lovely, very loud, gourmand rose fragrance. I just love this, and again, similarly to Instant Crush, I'll never run out of this huge 120 ml bottle. I just love this. And then last but not least, I have one fragrance, but that's actually kind of like 4 fragrances, because basically I have 4 fragrances that are quite similar. At one point I thought I was going to do a video comparing them all, and then I didn't get around to it, and well, I'm just going to do it in this video. My favorite out of the bunch, I think, is Jasmine Wisp by Aromatic. This is, and when I say my favorite of the bunch, because a lot of people compare this to Erba Pura by Xerjoff, which I do really love as well. This is definitely a very, very synthetic fragrance. So again, if you don't like that syntheticness, you're not gonna like these. And if you don't mind, and what you really want is something to be very loud, very long lasting. Like when I say long lasting, these are nuclear. When I first bought this and I sprayed the box it was in, like I had to leave the room. And when I came back in later on, it was actually in my bedroom. When I came back later on into my room, it was choking me out. I had to take the paper, the cardboard, and like throw it out outside, and it still was in the room. And this was like at the end of the day, so it had been in there all day. This is a nuclear fragrance. This is extremely long lasting, very, very wide projection, huge sillage, and similarly to that one, Jasmine Wisp, I would say, is maybe a little bit less long lasting, but in terms of projection and sillage, very similar. I think I prefer Jasmine Wisp because it feels a little bit more creamy and tropical with that coconut and passion fruit. I really love the passion fruit and coconut in this fragrance. It just feels very feminine, very tropical, very punchy. The first time I smelled this, it was a love at first sniff. This is a fragrance that I get very excited to wear. I definitely feel like I need to be going out to wear it though, because the projection is so strong that if I'm just going to be like sitting at my desk doing some work, it's going to be too overpowering for me. But absolutely one of my favorite, best Beast Mode fragrances out there. This is categorized as a floral fruity gourmand that came out in 2016. Erba Pura is classified as a amber fragrance, and this one came out in 2019, but I think there was an older version that came out by Suspiro. Anyway, there is some controversy, okay? A lot of these fragrances, like this one, the lead nose is supposed to be Christian Carbonel, but Carbonel is supposedly also behind some of these dupes, at least one of them. I'm not going to guarantee that. I don't want to get into the controversy. I don't know enough about it, but I know that there is some. Yeah. This is the version that comes from 2019, and very strong, fruity, ambery, vanilla, musky fragrance. What comes very close to that one, I would say, is the closest dupe is Al Haramain Amber Oud Gold Edition, the Gold Edition. This again is a huge bottle. These are such beast mode fragrances. Like I'm probably gonna declutter some at some point because there's way too much for me to use in a lifetime at this point, especially for the rate at which I go through these kinds of fragrances. But this one to me is the closest to Xerjoff's Erba Pura. This one just has a little bit more of a, specifically like a honeydew melon fruity vibe to it to me. a little bit fruitier, maybe a little bit more ozonic. This one is an amber vanilla fragrance that came out in 2018. So see, this one came out technically before this one, right? Trying to see if I can find the note. It doesn't say who made this fragrance, but like I said, these are very, very similar. I think this one, yeah, the fruitiness, it has pineapple, it has melon. I feel like it's like honeydew melon. I think they show cantaloupe in here, but it feels like honeydew melon. It says it has some green notes. I don't find the green notes too overwhelming or anything. It really goes straight into that melon and fruity, sweet vanilla muskiness. Extremely long lasting, incredible projection, and sillage. Again, you can absolutely choke people out with this, so be careful. And again, very impressively, this is by Lattafa and this is Abiyedh. This is a very affordable fragrance, and this, you guys, is very similar to Erba Pura. Okay, this lacks a little bit more of the fruitiness. It's a little bit more heavy on the musky, ambery vanilla side, but it's still so similar. And for the price, massive price difference, right? I would say it's a tad bit sheer, but it's still very long lasting and quite beastly, to be honest. Great spray as well. Yeah, it's so similar. It's so strange how the notes are so different too, because it's very, very similar. Now I need to do Amberwood Gold. Yeah, Amberwood Gold is definitely more fruity. I get that melon and the pineapple right away. And Abiyedh is definitely more of a musky scent. Musky vanilla, ambery vanilla. Yeah, Amberwood Gold is definitely more fruity. And Erba Pura. Erba Pura does feel a little bit more well blended, a little bit more ambery and vanilla than Amberwood Gold, but so similar, you guys. So similar. I definitely think that other people might not be able to tell the difference around you, and unless you've smelled a lot of fragrances, you might not be able to tell the difference either. Let's do Jasmine Wisp 2, which I think is probably the most different from these. I'm not sure. Let's see. I'm really choking myself out here, you guys. My nose is just going crazy here. After this, it's over. Yeah, this is just the, I can't believe I'm saying this because none of them are, but this is the more approachable version to me. I just really enjoy the creamy coconut in here. And I'm not a big coconut fan, you guys. If you've watched my coconut video before already, I only like coconut when it's very well blended into other notes, so into fruits and vanilla. I don't like just pure coconut. And here it's the kind of coconut I love. It's just adding that creaminess in there with the passion fruit. Very intoxicating, but very similar. Very similar. They definitely could be redundant in your collection, and I think mainly it's based on budget. I think mainly budget, except for maybe you have this one, which is this is the hefty price tag. These are the middle of the road ones. Really hard to tell which one you might prefer. Like I said, I think this one's a tad bit more feminine. Arguably, some would say that they're both feminine, but I think this one's a tad bit more feminine and creamy and tropical, like I said. A little bit more pineapple and melon with this one. And then Abiyedh is missing a little bit of that fruitiness, but I guess it's the cypriol oil in there is still adding that edge to it without being fruity. There's something that's similar to the other ones. Very musky and vanilla though, and a very strong projector and incredible value. Yeah, very affordable fragrance. So there you have it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found what you were looking for in here. I hope that you found something in here that corresponded to your wishes. I hope that I answered any questions you may have had about any of the differences in those fragrances too. If you have any questions, don't hesitate, leave them down below. I or others will get back to you. I love this community. I love when we get to chat and exchange our noses down in the comments below. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like on your way out, subscribe to the channel if you would like to see some more videos from me in the future. As always, take care of yourself, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.